Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Sol Urich's 1965 book, The Warriors, tells the story of a New York gang's treacherous journey through enemy territory back to their home turf.
While Walter Hill's 1979 film version of The Warriors was initially thought to be pretty much garbage, it's since become a cult classic. And damn if we don't love cult classics here on Cinefix.
So without further ado, and no restraint on spoilers, it's time to ask,
Warriors! What's the difference?
Okay, so before we really get into this, we should mention that while Walter Hill's movie is based on Sol Urich's book, the book was itself based on an ancient Greek story called Anabasis. That story tells the tale of Xenophon, the soldier who also wrote the story, and an army of 10,000 mercenaries stranded in a foreign land, undertaking a difficult trek back to their homes.
So are we gonna get our first What's the Difference à toi? A disparity three-way? A nasty contrasty? A triple romance variance?
Yeah, kind of.
Yes.
But not really.
Oh, I still dig it.
I knew you would. Well, let's start with the novel, shall we? Sol Urich begins painting a detailed portrait of life in New York. The title The Warriors doesn't refer to a particular gang, but to gang members in general. We get to meet several different groups in order to get a sense of the politics of gang life and the hierarchy employed by each. For example, our main characters are members of the Coney Island Dominators, a gang that uses family dynamics to establish its ranks. The leader, Arnold, is the father, his lieutenant Hector is the uncle, and all the rest, Pinton, Bimbo, Lunkface, Dewey, and the Junior, well, they're all brothers.
While those names are undeniably super cool names for fictional gang members, literally none of them are in the movie. The main characters in the film are in a gang called the Warriors, and while they're from Coney Island as well, their names are Cleon, Swan, Ajax, Rembrandt, and Cowboy.
Wow, those are cool names.
Dude, there are so many cool names. The gangs have cool names that are all different too. The Turnbull ACs, the Baseball Furies, the Lizzies, the Punks, the Electric Eliminators. It's awesome.
The book's got the Colonial Lords, Morningside Sporting Seraphs, the Castro Stompers, the Golden Janissaries. I mean, what the hell is a Janissary anyway? Hold on one second. Hey Siri, what is a Janissary?
I don't care. Leave me out of your stupid show.
Oh.
But as different as the character and gang names are, the stories stay pretty consistent. Both stories begin as gangs from all over town come together at the behest of the most powerful and respected gang leader in town. In the book, it's Ishmael, leader of the Delancey Thrones, and in the movie, it's Cyrus, leader of the Gramercy Rips.
Quick, what's the difference threesome tangent? The prince and general of ancient Persia who hired Xenophon and his 10,000 mercenaries only to die in battle, thus stranding the heroes far from home? That was Cyrus the Younger.
It's hot, dude.
Yep. While the movie was adapting the book, the screenwriter actually skipped back to the ancient text for this character. Will that be the last reference to the ancient Greek story made in the movie? Maybe.
Casey, you filthy tease.
Meanwhile, back in Sol Urich's novel, Ishmael gathers all the gangs of New York City together, offering a plan to band together, outnumber the cops, the fuzz, the pigs, and anybody else who wants to keep them down. So it will be they, the disenfranchised youth, that will rule the city.
The movie finds Cyrus offering the same sort of deal in the same sort of extremely classical oratory. But at the end of Cyrus's speech, Luther, leader of the Rogues, decides he doesn't like anything Cyrus has to say and shoots him dead in front of the entire assembly of gangs. Moments later, the cops swoop in, and during the chaos, Luther manages to frame Cleon, the Warriors leader, for Cyrus's murder, which in turn gets Cleon killed and implicates the entire Warriors gang in Cyrus's death. It's this action by the film's main antagonist that propels the narrative for the rest of the movie. The Warriors are now leaderless and on the run, being framed for Cyrus's murder and fighting for their lives.
In the book, Ishmael's speech is interrupted by an enormous force of police descending on the gang conference. The gangs all panic, and several of them, assuming that Ishmael used the meeting as a setup to get his rivals arrested, begin firing their guns at Ishmael, killing him dead, but good. This incites a chaos of cops and billy clubs and gang members running this way and that. While running past Ishmael's dead body, Father Arnold lingers a little bit too long. Ishmael's Delancey Thrones swarm around Arnold, beating him senseless. So when the main characters of the story, the Coney Island Dominators, escape, they escape without their leader and into a night where all truces have been called off. With no personified antagonist, their struggle to stay alive is against the landscape of territoriality they themselves have helped create and enforce.
And this is something that informs most of the changes from book to movie. Narratively, the movie sticks pretty close to the book for a while. The movie Warriors/book Dominators stop to rest in a cemetery after after the conference of gang gets busted up before beginning their journey back to Coney Island. They have to get on and off the subway thanks to breakdowns or fires on the track. They get chased by cops underground and onto the subway tracks. The biggest difference in this section of the story is tone.
I'll shove that bat up your ass and turn you into a popsicle.
While the movie is brimming with rad late 70s fight scenes chock full of pseudo-martial arts and slow motion every time somebody gets thrown through a door or something, the book is actually much more disturbingly violent. There are fewer actual fight scenes, but murder and rape in the book are treated as everyday occurrences in the life of a street gang.
For example, in the movie, the Warriors run into the Orphans, a low-level, barely respectable gang. Swan, acting leader of the Warriors, parlays for safe passage through the Orphans' territory until his girl shows up and starts calling the Orphans cowards for letting the Warriors through. This, of course, leads to the Orphans wanting to throw down, and the Warriors calmly throwing a Molotov cocktail at a car, causing it to explode. And the girl who started it all, she tags along with the Warriors.
The same scene in the book plays out in basically the same way. However, after the Dominators walk away from the lowly gang with the girl who caused it all, some random dude on the street looks at the Dominators kind of funny, so they murder him.
Whoa, what?
Oh, it gets worse. After they're done stabbing this random guy to death, they lay the girl down so her head is on the dead guy's belly like a pillow. And then they gang rape her.
Whoa.
Yeah, and all the while they're like chanting and stomping a rhythm.
Ah!
Yeah, I know, right? And then they just move on to the next subway station to wait for their train. Again, this type of thing is presented as an understood part of their life, part of being in a gang and even being a man. In fact, tests of manhood are littered throughout the book. From paying minute attention to facial cues of rival gangs looking for signs of disrespect to literal pissing contests to rampant misogyny in their treatment of women, the boys' idea of what it takes to be a man in this world is front and center in the novel.
Meanwhile, the movie pays more attention to the Warriors' fight against the rest of the gangs. There are brief moments where the movie deals with the haves versus the have-nots, but it certainly doesn't lean on them. But again, stemming from the decision to give the movie an antagonist at the end of Act 1, the movie follows the effort by the other gangs to capture the Warriors, and ultimately, when they get back to their Coney Island home, their names are cleared and they get the justice and respect they deserve.
Hey, I got a sexy three-way tangent again. When they get back to Coney Island and Swan says,
When we see the ocean, we figure we're home.
that's actually a reference to the end of the ancient Greek story when Xenophon and the 10,000 get back home. And then they cry, "The sea! The sea! Oh!"
Dude, super hot What's the Difference orgy action, but we were kind of bringing this one home.
Oh, right, sorry. So while the movie's focus lives on the journey home from the antagonist who frames them to the ending all tied up with a bow, the book is much more open-ended. It wraps up by following Hinton back to the Dominator's HQ, where he learns that Father Arnold actually survived the chaos at the big conference and returned home hours ago. Then Hinton goes home to his family, an apartment he refers to as the prison, to find his mom banging her boyfriend while Hinton's baby sister cries unattended in her crib. It's a very sad scene that ends with Hinton curling up in a ball on the fire escape and falling asleep while sucking his thumb.
So the world for the characters in the novel doesn't change at all. While we can assume the Warriors in the film will wake up the next morning with all kinds of street cred and stronger for their experience of the night before, nothing has changed for Hinton and the Coney Island Dominators. He's left grasping at a false idea of manhood among the only family he's got, a raping, pillaging, and murdering street gang.
In other words, the novel is about a lost generation of kids who, in a Lord of the Flies kind of way, work to survive in the violent and hopeless world they've created for themselves. While the movie is about a gang from Coney Island earning the respect of the rest of the city. And ancient Greek Anabases is about steamy, hot three-ways.
It is not.
Oh, how would you know? You didn't read it.
Well, neither did you.
Yes, but I'm the book half of the show, so I'm smarter.
Psh, I bet I could pee farther.
You're on. Unzip and show, bro.
That's it for this episode of What's the Difference? Let us know if you're ready to come out and play. And click like and subscribe to Cinefix for more What's the Difference?
Dude, you see this arch I got going on?
Yeah, but mine's higher. The arc is higher.
Like the goddamn Bellagio.
You boys are pathetic.
Shut up, Siri.